In a world filled with magic, gods and men make war. The fabric of time is torn asunder, though the true tempest is not yet upon us. None shall weather these trials alone, and few survive them together, for there can be no balancing of the scales in the wake of ebon storms.
In Ebon Storm's Episode 5, Traveling Through Morven Reach, the group found Farsha's backpack, which Elrad used to divine that she and Charn were headed to Morven Reach Castle. They moved quickly to the keep and ran straight into Selegna's ambush of ShadowRider mercenaries. The group fought back courageously. Nifigid escaped to get reinforcements from Shazgarath. The battle went badly. The sheer numbers of ShadowRiders tired Thangar, and a magic-deadening field of Selegna's creation drained the mages of their spellcasting energies. Thangar and Trellin with Krannik in tow made for the keep and went inside, while Elrad used his psychic powers to enhance Allandra's weakening magic enough to rout the remaining ShadowRiders. But when Elrad and Allandra went to rejoin the others, they found the door of the castle sealed with deadly magic. Meanwhile, Nifigid arrived in Shazgarath and was shocked to meet Lady Farsha there. When Farsha learned of the situation, she rushed to aid her friends. Arriving at the castle, she shattered the magic seal on the door, burst into the castle to find Trellin and Krannik unconscious, Thangar badly beaten, and two glowing specters eager for more victims. Farsha engaged the specters. The battle erupted into a conflicting maelstrom of holy and pernicious energies. The noble paladin succeeded in vanquishing the revenants, but at the cost of her very existence. Nothing remained of the Lady Farsha the Paladin save her holy sword, broken and tarnished. And now, Episode 6, A Hint of the Truth.
Far to the southwest in Romalia, hidden by a ring of treacherous mountains, stands a solitary temple. No prayers are uttered in this temple, however, for this is a temple of the mind, not of the soul. Its halls are silent. Men and women in brown robes walk unassumingly down its serpentine corridors. In a secluded room of this temple, 6 pupils sit listening to their teacher, Cedrina. Mistress Cedrina not only instructs all the students, but also serves as unchallenged head of the temple. Her students pay close attention as she details the inner workings of the mind.
Never think you are invincible. That is the surest road to failure.
But...
Save your questions for tomorrow. We will resume at first light. Chrisana, Sejan.
Yes, mistress.
Think about and practice what you have learned. Go.
Her students gone, Cedrina locks the door behind them, then walks over to a chair. She slides off her thick brown robe to reveal a red silk shift. She undoes the ivory pin in her hair, shaking out her long, wavy black tresses. She splashes a little cool water on her face, then sits down, cross-legged, on a silk cushion facing a large wall tapestry. She focuses her eyes on the tapestry, which depicts a huge, silvery, mirrored city set into a rocky cliff. She enters a meditative trance, reaching out with her mind to touch another, one far away.
Elrad, do you hear me? Elrad, hear my call.
What?
Elrad, your mistress calls.
Mistress? Mistress Cedrina?
Elrad, wake up. I must speak with you.
Mistress Cedrina? Is it really you?
Yes, Elrad. It's been weeks since you contacted me last. I wish to know what has transpired.
Mistress, so much has happened. The thought hadn't occurred to me to... Oh, I'm sorry for not contacting you. I don't know where to start. Perhaps you should read the thoughts directly from my mind, as you've done before.
Very well. Open your psyche to me. Then... You spoke the truth. Much has happened. It will take me days to assimilate all of these images. The Violet Mage? This Allandra. What is her intent?
The Lady Allandra. She didn't really give much reason for joining us. Guild politics, I guess.
Did anything unusual occur when you entered her mind to augment her magic?
Unusual? I don't think so.
Don't worry, Elrad. I'll leave you to rest now. Contact me again in a few days. In the meantime, keep close watch on the Violet Mage and the others.
Yes, Mistress Cedrina. I promise.
Cedrina withdraws her consciousness from Elrad's mind, rushing back down the lengthy path to her own body. She stands and shakes out the tension from her body, the strain of far contact taking its toll.
I sensed it, at the very borders of his consciousness, but there. This mage has something about her, something I've never encountered before. For a brief moment, I thought I sensed the fourth discipline. Elrad has access to her mind, and I to his. All these years, finally I have a hint of the truth.
The rainfall has temporarily ceased in Shazgorath. Night has fallen, and, for the first time in many days, 1 or 2 glittering stars can be glimpsed through the smothering clouds. No one sees them, though. The townfolk sit inside with their families, somber and silent, for unknown reasons. And some in Shazgorath know their pain. The adventurers mourn the loss of a friend and companion, though they do not mourn together. In the shrine to Illuma, Father Nifigate sits at his ascetic desk, preparing a eulogy, finding his words vastly inadequate. Elrad, Krannik, and Allandra stay at the town's only inn. Krannik lies awake in bed, his body healing, but his heart still wounded. Elrad sits meditating in his room, dealing with his emotions at their source. Alone in her own room, Allandra the Blue lies on her bed, recording the day's events in her journal, her mood melancholy.
The events that transpired this day inside Morven Reach Castle shocked me. Today, I witnessed the Lady Paladin Farsha battling 2 greater phantoms. She succeeded in vanquishing both, at the cost of her life. When I quested for my red robes, I fought the spirit guardian of the Dagger of Satragoth, and the encounter nearly killed me. What concerns me most is the great power required to conjure such evil as we witnessed. Specters are summoned creatures. What took place at the castle was a trap, laid by someone very powerful. Someone who wants us dead. I know little more of these Western ShadowRiders than their name, but I don't really believe they were responsible for the summoning. Thangar would know much about them, however. Perhaps I'll ask him, though I'll likely need a mountain of miracles to get him to speak with me. If not the ShadowRiders, who then? These people repeatedly mention the name Ralcazar, the old high priest of the Black Church. Could it be that the Church of Zendikar again has designs in the continent? Or could this be the work of the Guild Council's traitor? Perhaps some wild mage has gone awry? Already I fear this game has too many rings, and not enough pegs to catch them all. I remain certain of one thing. The happenings of the past few days mean trouble, for the Guild and all of Vermelia. I remember now the life of the Red Mage. Detachment from your companions, but having to work with them nonetheless. The party I travel with is very close, and the loss of the Lady Paladin has devastated them. I never knew her, yet even I am... Enter. Krannik, you should be in bed. Are you feeling better?
Father Nifigate and his comrade in Illuma managed a fair patch-up. My shoulder still pains me a little, my lady. I am here to finish, as promised, the story of our unique adventures.
No, not tonight, Krannik. You need your rest. Perhaps tomorrow, after the funeral?
No. I want it to be tonight. I want to answer your questions. You deserve that much. Thank you for your help in getting to Shazgorath. Getting to the heart of it, though, once I have answered your questions, perhaps you can be on your way.
I will decide that, thank you. Continue your account.
Of course. I told you how we were captured by Ralcazar, and how, thanks to Charn, we managed to escape. We were chased blindly through the Girding Deep. We could see nothing, and wandered into what we discovered to be the remains of a temple of Illuma. We explored the ruins, eventually making our way to the sanctuary. It had been abandoned for many years, but we found 2 artifacts lying upon the altar. One, a wooden staff bearing 6 metallic runes, sigils of Illuma, no doubt. The other was an old book with no title. Valaria, I'm sure you've heard that name before, my lady, was the only one who could approach either. When she took the staff in hand, it flashed radiant silver, bathing the room in soft, warm light. As if in a trance, she reached out her hand and opened the book to the first page. There was no printing on it, yet Valaria began reading aloud, in tongues. The light became so bright, we had to shield our eyes from it. Then the floor below us fell away. A fierce tempest caught us and carried us away. The next we knew, we were in a shadowed corner of a courtyard, outside a different temple, one fashioned of jet and obsidian. Dark-robed men and women walked the path to this black temple, carrying prisoners of war. We hadn't yet figured out that we had been transported several hundred years into the past. We looked to Valaria for an explanation. After much thought, she decided it was Illuma's will that the prisoners were to be freed. My lady, could I trouble you for a glass of water?
Of course.
Thank you. Anyway, the root of the story is that we tried to sneak through the temple and rescue the prisoners, but were caught. The dark priests took us to their dungeon and chained us. This is where we met Trellin.
Yes, she intrigues me. What is her heritage? I cannot tell.
None of us knows, including Trellin. She has no memory of the time before she was imprisoned. She blames Ralcazar for this.
Ralcazar?
Yes, my lady. A wild story, I know, but true nonetheless. Ralcazar came after several hours to question us personally. This was when we first realized that something very bizarre had happened. Ralcazar had no recognition of us, though he had met personally in the escape from the inn. Also, Ralcazar looked much younger. Our arrival was quite perplexing to him. He was most interested in the holy staff at Valaria's feet, which none of our captors could touch. He tried to pick it up, but the staff flared to life and would have burned his arm off had he not let it go. After that, he tortured us, one by one, asking us from where we came, what we were doing there, all the while fingering that cursed black amulet he wore around his neck. When he got to Charn, though, he stopped, and his attention turned inward for a time. No doubt he was consulting his dark master. His evil grin came back, and Ralcazar clamped his hand onto Charn's shoulder. Dark energy coursed into Charn's body. Charn screamed and screamed. I've never heard such pain in a man's voice. Ralcazar's amulet seethed and pulsed, poured out shadows which hid them both from our eyes. When it was over, Ralcazar turned and left the dungeon. Charn lay upon the floor, the image of a black hand burnt into his shoulder, the mark of Zenekar. He was lost to us for a long time, writhing in unconscious agony. For his sake, we hoped he would die. At some point, a guard came in to taunt us, telling us we were to be thrown into the black void.
As in the innkeeper's tale?
Yes. Charn awoke in time to be thrown in with us, as well as Trellin. After falling for what seemed like hours, we hit the floor of a room utterly devoid of light. We could see nothing, but we could sense other things in the room, things not human. We had to feel our way through the maze. Often, creatures would swoop down from nothing and attack us, and then fly off as quickly as they'd come. We walked aimlessly for a very long time. It was a wonder we stayed together. We traveled for hours, or days, or years, I know not which. Time had no meaning. This was a place of Ralcazar's fashioning. Through some dark power, he was able to make our enemies look like those we knew, was able to twist our thoughts into wicked nightmares. I cannot relate to you what we experienced, for words cannot begin to describe the evil turnings of Ralcazar's mind. After an eternity of wandering, we started disappearing, for no reason. One by one, we just vanished. We assumed that Ralcazar was tired of his games, deciding to finally kill us all, one by one. Ralcazar forced us to live twisted versions of our own deaths. I suppose Ralcazar thought the experience would destroy our minds, or perhaps he knew we were stronger than that. Regardless, we were reunited at the edge of a chasm, spanned by a bridge of...
I know the legend. So, you killed Ralcazar then?
I thought so, but I'm not sure now, since the trap. Elrad told me of the specters. We both know how much power it requires to conjure spirits.
Yes, I'd thought of that much myself. Do you think the ShadowRiders could...
No. They are mercenaries. Nothing less, nothing more. This stinks of the Black Church, my lady, but... Morven Reach was a trap. But for whom? Us? I find that a tough morsel to...
Krannik, you seem unaware or unconcerned that you and your friends have done something unprecedented, something impossible. It's well and good to know your little band of adventurers is being hunted, but why? Whether or not you know your adversary, that trap proves that you and your friends are in grave danger. This must be investigated further, and I believe it is in your best interests if I remain and assist you
You should return to your jurisdiction, my lady. You risk your life by staying here with us. First Valaria, now Farsha. Leave before it's too late. I've told you all that we know.
Do you honestly believe this affects only you and your friends? I must remain to represent the guild, at the very least until we perceive who or what caused this. Regardless, I can take care of myself.
As you wish, my lady. Oh, by the way, Father Nifigate and I were wondering if you would play at Farsha's funeral in the morning.
What? How did you know of my...
Your calluses betray you, my lady. Either you play the chroma chord or scrub floors quite often. Myself, I cannot imagine you even holding a floor swab.
Well, that as well. You are right, of course. I play whenever I can find the time.
Then would you play at the...
Of course. Good night, Krannik.
Good night, my lady.
Across town, in a tavern, Yarg the barkeep finishes pouring Thangar another tankard of ale when Trellin walks in, ignoring the stares of the tavern's patrons. She sits down beside the drunk and still drinking warrior.
I thought I'd find you here.
Leave me alone.
Getting drunk won't help.
I said, leave me alone.
Do you want to talk?
What about? She's dead.
I know, but you can't let it ruin your life. Thangar, let me help. We're friends, aren't we? Let's go find the others.
Listen to me. I don't need any more friends. Valaria was a friend. Farsha was a friend. All the people at Margaret Forge, they were all friends. You know what to have to show for it. They're dead. No more friends.
Listen to yourself. You're not making any sense. After Farsha's service, we have to start looking for whomever set that trap for us in the castle. We have to find out who wants us dead.
I don't care who set the damn trap. I don't care. Let him kill me. You hear? Come and kill me. Because if you won't, maybe I'll...
Thangar, shut up. I know how you feel, but...
You don't know anything. I can't go on without Farsha. We were a team. We watched out for each other. Being together was the only thing that made what we went through bearable. I remember the Black Coast invasion when Ralcazar destroyed the Kings of the Bees, burning every village he came across. Sometimes he didn't even stop to kill the villagers.
Thangar, please stop.
They just let hunger and disease do the job for them. Farsha and I'd ride and bring supplies to those we could. Everybody was sick. After a while, we started getting sick too. We had 4 days of hard riding ahead. Have food and supplies for a village along the mountains. We got really sick. We'd take turns controlling the horse team so the others could sleep. We were barely alive when we made it into the village. A priest of Illumina happened to be there. There was a few left. He healed us. Don't you see? And Farsha and I got each other through everything. And now she's dead. Nothing matters anymore. Nothing.
Listen to me, Thangar. Listen to me very closely. Do you think you're the only one that suffers? You don't own grief. You think I've never had to deal with pain, loss? Having no memory doesn't mean that I can't feel pain or grief or pity or anger. I can't remember them, but I know in my soul that somewhere I have a family, a people. Ralcazar has taken all of that from me. I can't even remember my full name. We all have to live through pain and loss. Some get more than others, but we all experience it. Farsha is dead, and we cannot bring her back. But we can find the person who did this. The only way we survive is by working together. I have to find my memory. I will.
What?
Put down that tankard or I'll do it for you. I'm going to find out who killed Farsha because I care enough to avenge her death. Don't you? What would Farsha think of you now, drowning yourself in ale and pity? I expect you to get off that stool and go get a good night's sleep. Farsha's service is in the morning. You will be there, and afterwards we'll leave to find who has done this to us and avenge her. Now let's go.
I saw her face, right before she died. It was filled with so much pain. She was begging for me to help, and I couldn't. I just laid there and watched her go.
There was nothing you could do, and Farsha knew that. Had you tried anything, you'd be dead too. That's not what she wanted. You couldn't save her, no one could. She sacrificed herself for us. But you can help us make sure that the person responsible for her death pays dearly. Are you coming, or do I have to drag you back to the inn? I will, you know.
I'm coming. And I'm taking my tankard of ale with me, though.
Fair enough. It's empty.
Starring, in order of appearance, Michael A. Tomazic as the narrator, Dawn Fox as Sabrina, Melissa Hughes as Prasanna, C. Jordan Myers as Sejan, Edward Hauser as the student, Chris Hutchins as Elrad, Erin A. Koch as Allandra the Blue, Chris Biddle as Krannik the Green, Christine Long as Trellin, and Bert Jean as Thangar. Ebon Storms was written and directed by Shane Ernst and Darrell Goffinet. Original music composed and performed by Edward Hauser and Scott Spear. Chief Editor, Shane Fox. Technical Engineer, Scott Spear. Art and Publicity, Shane Fox. Last Summer Productions would like to thank the Western Kentucky University Department of Music and Purdue University. This is Shane Ernst. This has been a Last Summer production.